What is going on, everybody? You got Matty here, and I am back for the second installment of my series called Building with the Elite, where I will take a draft league game that I have played and show you guys how I went into preparation for that game, and then we will watch the replay to see how my preparation ended up working. We will do this for all different types of matchups, good, bad, and different, and we will have hopefully a lot of fun. So this game is a CPC match, the Continental Pokemon Championship. It is the secondary league that I play in. Obviously, I'm part of the NPL, but I also play in the CPC, which is a really stacked league. We have fantastic competition in the likes of the Gypsy King himself, Purple Raven 24, Iron Flash Gaming, and then we have a bunch of National Pokeball League stars too, like Trev the King, Togavor, Sebastian Top Tier Boy, Aberforth, and I don't think I'm missing anyone other than that. But yeah, so yeah, there are really a lot of good players in this league. And this game that I'm going to be showing today is actually against another really good player who I actually did not just mention because he's not part of the NPL. His name is Champion Juiced on YouTube, and he's the coach of the Marvel Mighty Annas. Going into this game, my team's record was 5-2, and his team was 6-1. So he was one of the best teams in the league, record-wise and everything by far. So getting a win against him would definitely be nice because I knew he was going to try his best to bring it because he was excited to play me. That's what he told me, and I was excited to play him as well because he's got a really cool and fun-looking team, and I knew it would be a nice, fast-paced offensive battle. And thankfully, unlike the first episode, the matchup isn't too bad. It's pretty volatile, where we both have huge threats to one another's team, but they definitely, you know, as long as I prep well and play well, I think that I should be able to have a good shot to win because I do have threats that just completely destroy his team. And if I put myself in the right position to abuse that, then, like I said, I should have a good chance to win. Same thing goes for him, though, because he's got some absolutely enormous threats to my team, like Terrakion, like Yanmega, like Mega Altaria, and then just some really, really good Pokemon in general, like Nidoqueen, Metagross. Yeah, Metagross is actually a ginormous threat to my team as well. And Crawdon, obviously, is one of the hardest Pokemon to ever switch into. So yeah, it should definitely be a fun match, and I will go over how I prepared for this team. So here is his squad over here. He's got Terrakion, Crawdon, Blastoise, Jolteon, Metagross, Nidoqueen, Porygon 2, Gligar, Yanmega, Beheeyem, and Mega Altaria. So the only Pokemon here that I'm really not very afraid of, or, you know, I just don't think will put in a lot of work against my team, is Beheeyem. Although, like a Trick Room Life Orb Beheeyem can put in a decent amount of work against my team. But generally, it's just threatened by a lot and can't even take many hits from a lot of my powerful attackers. So it's going to have trouble setting up a Trick Room in the first place. But regardless, it's not something I can completely sleep on. So here is my team down here. There we go. I am the St. Louis Reshiram's, with my team being Thunderous Eye, Weavile, Entei, Donphan, Whimsicott, Selgor, Flygon, Hitmonchan, Jellicent, Mawile, and Mega Medicham. So a very, very offensive and pretty frail team here on my end. Just how I like it. So I'll go into the team building right now. So, whoops, let me stop it here. Alright, so here we are with the team preparation. First off, I have my Whimsicott. Pretty interesting set, as I have U-Turn, Giga Drain, Moonblast, and Encore. Giga Drain and Moonblast hit his team for a decent amount of damage, actually, even without investment. And with the speed EVs here, I actually speed creep Terrakion, so the only Pokemon that he has to outspeed me naturally is Jolteon. So this set definitely allows me to check Crawdon pretty decently, which is really, really hard to switch into no matter what team you have. Reason being is because with Kebia Berry, if Crawdon decides to pack Sludge Wave, that would actually one-hit KO me from full, potentially, depending on whether he's Life Orb or, you know, what his set is exactly. But if he's Life Orb, it should one-hit KO me from full if I'm at, you know, with this spread. So if I switch in and he does fire off some type of Sludge Wave or Sludge Bomb, then I'll be able to take around half from it and then threaten the Crawdon out. I do have U-Turn if I predict it to switch. Just forcing Crawdon out is very nice in general, so I can get more favorable matchups later on down the road. So this Whimsicott set is definitely nice in that regard, as it also has Encore and Moonblast, which is a really nice combination for Mega Altaria, because if it's a really bulky setup set that can be really difficult for me to handle with the rest of my Pokemon because that thing could just be so fat and set up on so many things. I could Encore it into whatever move it's trying to do to keep itself healthy or set up, and then just Moonblast it as it's pretty much forced to switch out. So that is pretty nice, as well as, yeah, the U-turn for momentum. Like I said, most of the EVs are put into physical bulk just because I do want this thing to ideally check the Crawdaunt, and I have enough speed to outrun the Terrakion, meaning that I can get pretty good damage off on his whole team, including the Blastoise, which I could 1v1 with Giga Drain. So now the next set, I was pretty proud of this set. It is a Jellicent, a speedy one, enough speed to outspeed a completely uninvested Gligar, because he doesn't really have too much of a reason to run speed on Gligar. And it's not really that important if I do outspeed it or not, but I just figured it would be kind of important. It would be kind of nice because being able to taunt that thing and not let it toxic me or do things like that would be very nice. Now, the reason I have Lumberry on this Jellicent is because he's got a Blastoise, and that is his Rapid Spinner, and that matches up against my team much better than his Gligar does. I'm not really expecting him to bring Gligar. If he does, I have a bunch of checks, but if he does not, that is okay. So with my Jellicent here, I have Will-O-Wisp, Taunt, Recover, Scald. Pretty standard moveset, but the reason it's so effective against his team is because with this speed, I know he's not going to have this much speed on his normal Blastoise, as I could switch into a Rapid Spin or a Toxic regardless, and even if he does poison me, I have the Lumberry to heal that, and I can outspeed him and taunt him if he would like to go for another Toxic. So that is very useful, as from there, I could just fire off free Will-O-Wisps as long as they hit. Something on his team is going to get burned because he does not have anything that could take Will-O-Wisp and anything that appreciates taking Will-O-Wisp, which is very, very nice. As Scald, we all know how Scald works. Burns, you know, a little over 50% of the time, and just does, you know, fair damage to his team because he just has a pretty frail squad. So this Jellicent could definitely put in a lot of work, as it also checks physically attacking Metagross pretty well, depending on what his set is. If he doesn't have something like Thunder Punch, then it should be able to take hits from Metagross pretty solidly. And it overall could put in a lot of work against his team, especially if it's spreading burns, which, like I said, his team really does not appreciate. So the next Pokemon we have, Mawile. Now, Mawile, fully physically defensive. With Play Rough, it could break even like Impish, Dragon Dance, like Cotton Guard, Mega Altaria's subs after it's at +3. So that's kind of cool, because then I could like break its sub and force it to go for some type of like recovery move or substitute, and go into something like Whimsicott and Encore it, while this set could also punish normal Metagross by having the Rocky Helmet if it wants to go for certain types of physical attacks that maybe Jellicent can't take too well, like a Thunder Punch, and even Meteor Mash. If it's not Life Orb or Choice Band, then I could live 2 Meteor Mashes. The reason, you know, I could just barely live those is because he doesn't get intimidated because he has Clear Body. But regardless, just getting damage off is very nice, as it puts it in range of like a Mega Metacham's high jump kick, which is very nice. So getting up rocks is huge against his team, as I have an excellent spin blocker in the Jellicent. So having Stealth Rocks and then something like Baton Pass, those are very nice for my team. And Pain Split I just put on there because keeping Mawile healthy is definitely kind of nice. But more importantly, Play Rough doesn't do that much damage to a lot of things on his team. So if I expect something to come in that's coming in at a lot of HP, if I'm a weakened Mawile, then Pain Split can get some immediate damage off on a lot of his Pokemon, which could be really, really nice, forcing them to recover or just getting good damage off. So next we have an absolute savage against his squad. We have a offensive Mega Metacham, Adamant Nature, because we really don't need Jolly for anything on his team, and this set just absolutely puts huge holes in his squad, because it's the type of situation where it outspeeds his defensive Pokemon, so I could fire off incredibly powerful attacks against his defensive Pokemon, and then his offensive Pokemon miss out on one-hit KOs on Mega Metacham. So I could take a hit from a lot of his things that could normally revenge kill me, and then just completely knock them out with one of my moves. So I have the dual priority and Fake Out Bullet Punch, which is really, really nice against him, as he has so many fast attackers. So things like Yamega, which is probably the biggest threat to my team on his team, Terrakion, even Jolteon, just a bunch of things that he has that are pretty fast and threatening. It's definitely nice that I have the dual priority there with Metacham, and then High Jump Kick plus Zen Headbutt just destroy his whole team. So that is a lot of fun. And I could just click those buttons pretty safely. The reason I didn't have Drain Punch here, which I initially did have, was because Metagross could just take it so well, and that's the Pokemon I'm probably, or one of the Pokemon I'm weakest to with this build. So that's why I figured I just have to run High Jump Kick. So as long as it's not Scarfed and I could outspeed it, I could just click High Jump Kick, and with a little bit of damage, it should get 1-hit KO'd. So that is my set here. And then next we have an Assault Vest Donphan, just max, pretty standard set, just because it takes on a lot of his special attackers very nicely. Jolteon cannot safely Volt Switch on this thing. He really likes his Jolteon juiced, so even though it doesn't have a great matchup against my team, I am kind of expecting him to bring it. This set spins very reliably against him too, because he does not have, well, not very reliably, because things like Gligar can keep setting rocks up against Donphan, as they should be able to 1v1 it, but I do have Knockoff, which can knock off its Violite, which is very useful. I have Gunk Shot for the Mega Altaria, which could do a lot of damage. And then Earthquake hits the rest of his team really hard, actually, even without investment. So this Donphan set is pretty nice, as it also doesn't take on the Mega, because I don't have a really good move to hit it. Gunk Shot will do decent damage if it is offensive, but like really offensive. It doesn't have like leftovers or any type of recovery, but it does take hits from it, and I can knock it off and remove its item, which could be useful because that thing is just really powerful with a Life Orb or something like that against my team. So finally, the last Pokemon we have here is Weavile. We have the Beast. We got a really standard Weavile set. We are able to go Adamant here because we cannot outspeed Jolteon. So with Adamant Nature and this spread, we could just barely outspeed Terrakion by 1 point, and then I have just a standard set, knockoff Icicle Crash, Low Kick, and Ice Shard, which does so much damage to his team. So Ice Shard is really nice for that Yanmega, which, like I said, is a gigantic threat to my team. So this Weavile is very useful against him, and if this thing gets in with some open space, it will tear up his team. So now finally, we will get onto the actual battle. Alrighty, so now we have the actual match, and it turns out he brought Crawdaunt, Jolteon, Blastoise, Yanmega, Nidoqueen, and Porygon 2. Now, I was pretty surprised to not see either Terrakion or Metagross, or even both, come, but Nidoqueen is just an incredibly solid Pokemon against any team, and Porygon 2 could just generally wall a lot of things. My team definitely is pretty good against this Porygon 2, especially because things like Donphan have knockoff for it. Jellicent completely walls it. Whimsicott can control it with Encore, and then things like Medicham and Weavile could just, you know, pretty much blow it away. But the Crawdaunt is a huge threat. The Blastoise makes a lot of sense. The Yanmega is an absolutely massive threat. And then Jolteon could be really threatening if he's able to knock out my Donphan. So we'll get right into this match, as he leads with Crawdaunt, as I lead with Medicham. So here, I go right for the Fake Out, and him staying in makes me think he might have been either Scarfed or Focus Sash. But I wasn't really expecting Scarf Crawdaunt against my team, just because it doesn't outspeed that much. Like, it does outspeed Mega Medicham, but it doesn't outspeed things like Thundurus. So I wasn't sure, but here, because in case he is Scarfed, I just decide to switch out into my Whimsicott, as he goes right into his Yanmega, probably expecting me to go for a fighting move. As here he goes for a Bug Buzz, revealing that he's Scarfed. The reason I stayed in was, what's it called? What was I expecting here? Oh yeah, I was expecting that I would outspeed it, because if he went for Protect, then I could just Encore him into Protect. And if he, you know, went for any other move, then I could just U-turn out and switch into something like Assault Vest Donphan or Mawile. But he actually outspeeds me and goes right for the Bug Buzz. If he went for Air Slash there, I would have lost my Whimsicott, which would have been kind of bad. But he probably expected me to pull a switch into something else, and that's why he decided to go for Bug Buzz. So here, I go right into my Mawile, as now I can get up my rocks, and they should be here to stay. As he goes right into Blastoise, which I did expect, and now I'm going to hard switch right into Jellicent, because that thing can outspeed me, as he goes for the Rapid Spin. Now I go for Taunt on this Blastoise, knowing that he's probably going to have Toxic, but he still does not know that I have Lumberry, which is awesome. So here, I can go right for the Will-O-Wisp here, as burning this Porygon 2 means I just shut it down 1v1 because it just will get taunted and it cannot do much to me. Even if it has Thunderbolt, it will not do a lot of damage considering the fact that he's Trace and not Download. So here I go into Metacham as he actually goes into Jolteon. I know he probably can't knock me out here, but I don't have that much of a reason to not go into Donphan. As he actually goes for the Volt Switch, maybe thinking that I would just want to stay in and get a kill. But here he goes into Blastoise as I could just go right for the knockoff very safely because I know that he cannot take on my Jellicent. He's going to fall right for the trap, as he does Toxic me, and I do have the Lumberry, which works really nice. As here, I go for the Will-O-Wisp because there's no way that, well, not that there's no way, but the fact that I've already gotten these rocks up and that I've weakened this Blastoise and I keep forcing it to come in and take rocks every time it wants to try to spin, I'm not too afraid of him Toxicing me right now, because if he does and I get a Will-O-Wisp off on it, then that Blastoise is almost gone, and its only way of healing up is with Rest, and I knocked off its Chesto Berry. So as long as I can taunt it and just force it to keep coming in on rocks, that Blastoise will not be able to remove the Stealth Rocks. So at that point, I was not too worried about the Blastoise Toxicing me, so he expected me to go for Taunt, and I figured he might. So Will-O-Wisp was just my best play all around, as I do connect on this Crawdaunt, which is awesome. But I don't want to stay in here just because even a burnt Crawdaunt can still do a ton of damage to a Jellicent. So I can go into Mawile very safely here, as he does go for the Sludge Wave like I predicted he would have. I didn't have a reason to go into Whimsicott there because, number one, Whimsicott is almost dead. And number two, Mawile just completely walls the Crawdaunt now that he is burned and intimidated. And he's not Life Orb either, so here he goes for that Crab Hammer, and it does 22. So here I just go right for the Baton Pass, as he's going to go right down to the burn. As going into Mega Metacham is really nice because it's just safe. Like, I could just get a Fake Out off on anything that wants to come in. So here he goes into his Yanmega, as I could just fake him out. As I do get a crit, which did not matter just because I had the Bullet Punch next. So unless he wanted to switch out there, then it really didn't matter too much. But I don't think he wanted to switch out considering the fact that he stayed in. So here he goes into his Jolteon, where I could stay in here, but I'm just trying to play this safe. As here he goes into Blastoise, making a good double switch, predicting my Donphan. Now he predicts me again and goes for the Toxic on my Jellicent, because this is kind of all he can do at this point, because my prep is pretty solid. So here he goes for Rapid Spin, expecting me to double out, expecting something like Jolteon maybe to come in. I'm not exactly sure, but maybe he just expected that I didn't want to keep getting predicted and that I would try to catch him making an over prediction, so he would just go right for Rapid Spin, predicting me to switch out. But instead I was just like, you know, I really don't lose anything by Will-O-Wisping here, because Porygon 2, if it wants to come in, it's going to take rocks and burn damage, and I could just taunt it. So I'm really not afraid of anything he wants to do here. So here I burn this thing, and now I believe I just go for Scald. I don't really lose anything by it. So, oh no, now I go for Taunt, because I was expecting Porygon 2 to come in, because it will get the Water Absorb and possibly heal up. So that's why I went for Taunt there, as now he can't get up rocks or anything like that, which is nice with this Nidoqueen. As here I go into Donphan, as he actually doubles back out into Blastoise, making another good play, as I'm just going to go right back into Jellicent here, as I'm really not afraid of that Blastoise. So here I'm only at 57%, but that's okay, because I can go right back into Donphan, as he actually goes for the Taunt, which if I stayed in, I probably just would have scalded it actually, but I just wanted to go right into Donphan so I could keep the rocks off the field if it did decide to go for rocks. And I know it can't do too much damage because it revealed the Black Sludge, and I'm Assault Vest. So here I could just click a very safe Earthquake, as that Ice Beam only does 22. That's crazy. I love Donphan. So here he just goes for another Ice Beam. Doesn't even knock me down below half, as I am able to knock out this Nidoqueen. As now he's just going to go into his Porygon 2. I go into Mega Metacham just because I don't know what he's going to do to me. I wasn't expecting the Thunder Wave there. I knew he had it, but, like, you know, I have my Donphan in. Now he just needs to make some crazy plays to try to get himself back into this game. But he goes for the Thunderbolt, so I just go right for the Zen Headbutt. And that does not even knock him out without the burn, which is pretty crazy. As now he goes into Jolteon, so I could just go right into my Jellicent here. Reason being is because I expected him to go for something like maybe like a Specs or Life Orb Hidden Power Ice, which two of those might be able to knock out my Donphan. I think Life Orb Hidden Power Ice would 2 KO my Donphan from where it's at, so I just decided to sack Jellicent. I probably could have tried to preserve a 6-0, but like if I went into Donphan, then I could force him to HP Ice and go into something like, I don't know. I'm not even sure what I'm saying. Maybe I couldn't have preserved the 6-0, but I could just go into Jellicent here and sack it off after putting in a ton of work. And now I could just go into Donphan and just click Earthquake, as that hidden Power Ice does nothing because he is not boosted. So here he goes into Blastoise, and to preserve the 5-0, I know he's probably going to go for Rest here, but there's not much he could do because he's not even Chesto Rest. So I just went into Mawile here because if he wanted to go for like Scald or any type of attack, or maybe predict Whimsicott and go Ice Beam to try to lower the differential to 4-0 instead of 5-0, I could take the hit and he would go down to Burn. But because he does just Rest, now I could safely switch right into my Whimsicott, as I could just go right for the Giga Drain here, as even if he has something like Ice Beam, I could still 1v1 this Blastoise, as he does not have Sleep Talk. So now he just decides, you know, this game's pretty much over. So he goes for the Toxic as I Giga Drain him for the win. So the cool thing about this team that I made here was, like, I know Juice feels like he did not do his best here. Like, he felt like he didn't play great. But we all have bad games, definitely. But I really don't think he played as bad as he thought he did. I think my prep just turned out to be really useful for this match. I think that some of my sets just put him in a spot where every play that he made kind of seemed like it was the wrong one, and even though it wasn't, even though those plays made sense, it put him in a bad spot and put him in almost like a panicky situation where he felt like he needed to make these crazy plays to get back into it. For example, like switching his Crawdon in on a not obvious Will-O-Wisp, but it was a Will-O-Wisp that was definitely it was a play that made a lot of sense on my part. It wasn't like a crazy prediction that I made. So that just goes to show, when you have really solid prep, you could play incredibly safe. Like towards the end of the game, I was just switching back and forth into a bunch of my different Pokemon because I really was not in trouble. Even if he pulled a bunch of good double switches and made some pretty good predictions, I really was not in a lot of trouble of losing this game, and I was still able to pull the 5-0 victory against a really solid player and someone with a pretty scary team as well. So I definitely wanted to showcase this game for that reason, because I just felt like my prep for this game was completely what won me the match. Like, I really did not even need to play. All I need to do was make really basic plays that someone who hasn't even been playing for that long should probably know how to play, and I still would have had a good chance to win. But obviously I did play well. You know, I would say that all of my plays made a lot of sense. All my plays were pretty much the right plays in this game. So that just made it even more of a solid victory, because I was able to preserve a high differential in this game and get a 5-0. But like, it was totally the preparation that allowed me to get that 5-0, number one, and would have put me in such a good spot even if I did misplay a few times here and there, because I just had a lot of nice little tricks to counter his team. So that is it for episode 2 of Building with the Elite. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This type of series, it's just really fun to make, just because I get to go through my old games that I had a lot of fun with, building and playing. And it just goes to show how important preparation is, because when you prep really, really well and come up with sets that your opponent may not expect, on top of it, not just have answers to their threats, but also come up with some things that your opponent may not expect, then you could really win a game before the battle even starts. And I think this was a good example of that. So, yeah, like I said, that is it for this video, episode 2. And yeah, let me know what you guys thought in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, a like would be greatly appreciated, and we'd love for you to subscribe. And with that being said, hopefully you have yourselves a fantastic day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later.